and welcome to a very special edition of the Big Rican Baseball Show here on the Wise Guys Sports Show, celebrating 5 years of the Big Rican on Sports podcast. I am one of your hosts. I am the Big Rican on Sports, Mike Martinez, and I am going to now bring in my co-host with the most, Mr. JC Blue Note. And Jim, we've kind of made this first little bit here a little different than we normally do here on the Wise Guys with our wonderful intro video. But first of all, it's Saturday the 12th of August. How the hell did we get here?
We are just over 2 months away from the 2-year anniversary and the trip.
This is insanity. Dude, I'm here 6 months.
By Labor Day, we're going to be at episode 40. It's like, didn't we just have a big blowout for episode 30?
Yeah. And here's even crazier. A week from tomorrow, a week from Thursday, I'm in Georgia 6 months.
And this is actually the first Big Rican baseball show that there has been. You notice there was not, for any of you guys watching in the on-demand, there's a method to the madness here with this. We'll explain that, later. But you notice the Wise Guys intro was not played.
Yeah, we're going more off the script than we normally do this evening. Which, for me to even say that is kind of a little fucked in the head, because we usually don't have a script.
Now you got to remember, now I have to bleep that, because when this gets posted to your page,
it's fine. It's fine. I don't care. I am so used to being with you, and the gloves are off. I'm not Pat McAfee. I'm not dropping the F word. I don't care. So we got a lot to get to tonight. We went through the trade deadline. We did talk about that a little bit. I did. My trip last weekend got canceled. So for anybody who wants to hear this one, I sent Jim a message. I'm like, yo, trip's canceled. Deadline show? He's like, denied. I already ordered, what did you say? Blow hookers and pizza?
Yeah, hookers, blow, and pizza already on the way.
Well, was it Papa John's or Jets? Because I'd really like to know which one you got.
I actually, I went to Aldi's and got like a 16-inch, thin crust deli pizza.
Dude, those are the best.
I actually made my dad laugh. It's because I was so hungry from actually doing 2 workouts and a 3-mile walk earlier in the day that half of it was gone before I turned in. 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm waking up, and I'm still hungry. And the other half was gone. And then my father actually says, you could have actually made it last till the next day. It's like, it was 1 o'clock in the morning. It did.
It was the next day, yeah.
It did.
It did. So we got a bunch to get to as far as what's going on in Major League Baseball right now.
A very quick correction. We have not done a Wise Guys or any kind of show in the aftermath of the trade deadline. We talked about stuff leading up to it.
Yeah, so let's get into a little bit of the aftermath of the trade deadline. I want to start with my New York Mets, because if we're doing a Big Rican baseball show, we know it's very Mets heavy most of the time, and that is really the reset of the entire franchise that Steve Cohen took. Here we go. He cracked one. Are you glassing this one, or you canning this one?
No, I have never shotgunned a beer.
I want to get that thing where it helps you shotgun things that you see on TikTok. You actually pierce the can with it. It's like a little thing you hang on your keychain, like a bottle opener.
Yeah.
And you've pierced the can with that. You don't have to use your teeth like Baker did that time. And you open it, and it's like a little spout on it.
There's another thing I saw. I want to say I saw it. It might have been on TikTok or Facebook, that it kind of looks like an oversized cigar trimmer, and it goes around the top, and literally you clamp down and do 2 twists, and it literally lifts the top of the can off, so you can use the can, so you don't have to put your lip here, and you're literally drinking the can like a glass.
That's actually pretty cool. All right, we're going to go off the rails during the Wise Guys section of the show, because it will be our normal 2-hour Saturday night extravaganza. We'll have the first hour is going to be the Big Rican Baseball Show, and then we're going to take a break for a minute where you're going to see where the Wise Guys show takes over. So let's jump into the franchise reset, Jim. And we have talked about this 2 different ways. One, your your article, which by the way was extremely well written, about the lunacy that is the Mets payroll and what they ended up doing. And I'm taking the other side of that. So really, if you want to just highlight what you said in that piece, I want to rebut to that live here on the show.
Yeah, let me get the piece pulled up because it's the last thing I've written. Actually, the second last thing I've written. It was from August 1st. It was titled "Mets Failure to Buy 2022 Title Commissions Crash and Burn Sale a Year Later." With their $384 million payroll, the Mets came in with the highest payroll in MLB history and expectations to win their first series since '86. In the past 4 days at the time, 5 key members of the lineup are now taking up space in different locker rooms. Chances are, if you've got a few million lying around, there might be a few other players you can take off of Steve Cohen's hands. And then at the time, the Mets were 5 games under 500, 6 games out of the wild card, 17 and a half out of first place. And remember that despite Atlanta playing incredible baseball in August and September, the Mets squandered a 10-game lead, then went out in the first round against the Padres. And then I actually started to refer to myself as Nostradamus.
Jesus Christ.
And then in the span of 3 days, Cohen saw Verlander, Scherzer, 2 aging veteran aces on his pitching staff move to World Series contenders. Each of them owed $43.3 million, with Scherzer going to the Rangers and Verlander going back to the Astros. And then it's unclear how much of the $86.6 million will be retained by the Mets. But the hope is that Cohen can get a tax break by the start of 2024, as the Mets are $144 million over the competitive balance tax, which is the closest equivalent to the luxury tax in the NBA.
And you're absolutely right. Now, let me take this from the other side of that. And first of all, the guy didn't make all his money by sticking on to bad investments. Let's start there. Second of all, they got rid of Verlander and Scherzer. And listen, no one was more upset about the season than me. The ass beating they took today isn't sitting well with me. As I made the joke to Jim before we went on the air, the Falcons beat the Jets 21-3 today. The Braves beat the Mets 21-3 today.
And it's a good thing that he had to clarify, because considering we now have, Saturday afternoon preseason games,
Yeah, I had to clarify as my mechanic sent me the final score and said, "Hey, did you see this?" And I did it like that because he told me he was going to watch it, and I sent him the link to the show. So if he didn't, oh well. But let me tell you what the Mets got, and I think they got their new number 1 rated prospect in Luis Angel Acuna, who I fully expect to be the starting second baseman come opening day 2024. They are saying a middle infield of him and Francisco Lindor is going to be dynamic. I fully agree. They picked up the number 1 and number 4 prospect from the Houston Astros in the Verlander deal. If you think about it, what Steve Cohen inherited when he bought the Mets was maybe the second or third worst farm system in baseball, and a team that wasn't competing on the field. So basically, he's done what he had to do. He spent a shit ton of money to make this team competitive. Did they fall on their face this year? Absolutely. But with the way the season started, and last year was a lot of optimism, there's a lot of excitement. When Edwin Diaz went down during the WBC, that changed. Every single bit of it changed. Because we knew now David Robertson's not a closer. By the way, have you seen he's gotten tattooed since he went to the Marlins?
Yeah, we're going to talk about another closer when we shift off the Mets here in a few.
Yeah, and we're not going to be much longer because it's basically become in-season rebuild for this franchise, which is fine with me. I don't want a run to a title and then 15 years of mediocrity. He's trying to build the Dodgers. And if you remember the Dodgers in the early 2000s, did they win? Yes, they won with veteran players that they brought in on free agent deals, and they built their farm system that way because they had a fire sale when Frank McCourt got divorced and had to sell the team. You think about the dudes they brought through their system that won them that title. Urias, Hyunjin Ryu, Andre Ethier, Matt Kemp, Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger. They had the pieces to go out and trade and get Mookie Betts. You bring in Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler. The Mets don't have that. And they had to rebuild the farm system somehow. Getting rid of two guys whose combined age is 80, who weren't in the plans after next year at the longest, not a bad move. Think of what else they did. They picked up the fifth-rated pitching prospect from Milwaukee for Mark Canha, free agent after this year. They picked up two young kids in the lower minor leagues who are projected to be starters at the major league level for David Robertson, free agent after this year. They cleaned off the books a lot of dead money that they were paying dudes to basically be lame ducks. Canha wasn't playing. With the emergence of Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos and Alvarez, they were having to move McNeil around to get everybody at bats. Canha wasn't really playing.
I still find it a little tongue-in-cheek or oxymoronic that you guys are you indicated that you cut a lot of dead kind of, I don't want to say dead weight, but dead money, and you guys still have a $320 some odd million payroll, which is 50 more than the Yankees for second. And you're still, and it's still going to be the highest payroll never to get into the playoffs.
And you're absolutely right.
This is not me shoveling dirt. It's very ironic,
It's extremely ironic, don't you think? Yeah, see what I did there?
Like rain on a rainy day.
It's a free ride when you already paid.
I know that's not the line. Remember that MTV used to run those commercials with the weird cab driver who would always say the words of the song wrong?
Yes. Like when MTV used to run music videos.
Yeah, it's like saying you're crazy when you're already nuts. Yeah, they turned 40, earlier this week? MTV did, and they haven't played a video on that channel, I want to say, in 10 years.
18, 19 years, yeah. It's insanity. But finishing up my point about the Mets, and I want to jump on what you were going to say about the other closer. In all honesty, I think what the Mets did this year would have been different if Diaz had not gotten hurt. And if they had not started the season without Justin Verlander. Think about it. Their starting five was supposed to be Verlander, Scherzer, Kodai Senga, Quintana, and then McGill or Peterson taking up the number 5 spot. Well, Quintana didn't pitch until 3 weeks ago. Verlander spent basically the first month on the IL. See, football is happening. I said IR. And Max Scherzer, for as good as his record was, high disappearing act every time they needed a big start. So, yes, is it disappointing that they spent this kind of money and they did not go anywhere? Absolutely. Absolutely it is. 100%. This is not a season I will ever talk about as I go on. Outside of it's the year Pete Alonso hit another 45 bombs and the Mets are going to back up a brink truck this offseason for him. And the crazy thing is, Jim, they're not far away from being a competitive team for 2024.
Right.
You add a pitcher or two, you bring Alonso back, and you get a healthy Edwin Diaz, who, by the way, was in uniform yesterday. He may pitch before the end of the season. You have a couple of pieces you can bring up. Ronnie Mauricio, I think, will be a big piece of this team next year. Luis Angel Acuna very well could be the starting second baseman, as I said before. You have Beatty, you have Vientos, you have Alvarez, you have Lindor, you have Nimmo, you have McNeil. That's a homegrown core you can build around with free agents and pitching that you have to bring in because you haven't developed any yet. My last point about the Mets is this, and I think I've said this to you before, and I know I've said it on the Big Rican Show. My favorite moment of the 2015 World Series, which is the last time the Mets got there, was after Yoenis Cespedes was injured in Game 5. And everybody says to me, well, why is that? So, because if you go around the horn and around the diamond, the only player who did not go through the Mets system and make his major league debut as a New York Met was Curtis Granderson. Darno was behind the dish. Harvey was on the bump. David Wright at third, Wilmer Flores at short, Daniel Murphy at second, Lucas Duda at first, Michael Conforto in left, and Juan Lagares in center. Granderson is the only dude on that field that did not make his debut as a Met. That's why the 2015 World Series, win, lose, or draw, was going to be my favorite, because it was two teams that had to build themselves in Kansas City and the Mets. And it wasn't these go out and get the big name, go out and do this, build yourself. That's why I enjoyed 2016, even though it didn't go the way you and I wanted it to.
Right.
Because, again, both teams were built. They were not purchased. Would I still have a blast with a purchase title? Hell yeah, I would. Hell yes, I would. Difference between a purchase title with this Mets team and the two we talk about all the time, the 97 Marlins, they've got a core of dudes who've come up through the system on this team. The Marlins didn't. So that's my little sermon about the sons of bitches that make my blood pressure go up.
And, we griped that, I mean, you and I personally, because we were in the town when it happened, that, remember, I was not a big Indians fan when you and I were in high school, and then
No.
I started to come kind of back onto the train during that 97 World Series, because I did not want a bunch of, like a third-year franchise named after a fish going out and buying it, and they did. But the thing is, Miami's got 2 World Series titles that they can always hold above everybody, whereas the city of Cleveland and Flushing you guys haven't had one in 27 years.
37 years.
37 years, and we're going back to 48, and I'm not. I was told there would be no maths, so I'm not doing.
No,
that.
there will be no maths. 75, but that's only because I went to the office today to work.
Cheater.
Yeah, dude. So I was playing the Xbox last night, and I put on the end of year episode from 2022, and you've heard of Elf on a Shelf. The cheater on a Jeter still gets me. Or Nestor on a molester. Those two just did it.
God, those were so good,
dude. When we get to the wise guy section, I got one for you.
Because that's going to be. I mean, you think of it, it's like it's a time-honored tradition that's going to be going forward with us, is that we're going to have our year-end comedic blast, which is entirely an off-the-rails thing, and then the week after that is the Wisies.
Dude, that's right. We're going to actually have to start writing the Wisies in October.
We're going to have to start writing the Wisies in November, because we actually have other things that we need to focus on a lot more intuitively in October.
Well, I know that
priorities are.
I'm talking about we're going to have yeah, I think my buddy's watching, because I'm not sure if you're keeping up with the Mets are down. The Nets are down 2-0, top 8. I didn't know the Nets were playing. Okay, the Mets are losing 2-0, top 8. Yeah, I know they're losing. You don't show it. I just read it. You don't need to show it. They suck. I still want to know if they got Dwight Howard to get videos of these dudes at the strip club. That's why they signed all these under-market deals to stay with the fucking Braves. It's the only way I see it happening. Anyways, so who did you want to bring up, Mr. Clase in Cleveland, or was it someone else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. Who else would it be? That
I don't know.
Just what a nose. You talk about nosedives with the Mets. The fact that the Guardians right now are 5 games under 500 and are, well, actually with Minnesota, winning right now, they're still going to be within 5 games of first place. I mean, they're not going to get there right now, but selling off Ahmed Rosario basically for Magic Beans, at that point getting Noah Syndergaard, who got his first win since April the other day, and then letting Aaron Savali go as your number 3 starter. So I was listening to yesterday afternoon's afternoon finale, their matinee against Toronto. The Guardians threw three of their rookies and Syndergaard in that 4-game series, and the starters only gave up 4 runs.
You were saying this.
And the bullpen worked half as many innings and gave up 7
Well,
and got a split.
have they had injuries in that bullpen, or is it just lack of performance?
It's just that bad that
Okay.
you've had every single member of the starting rotation. Bieber's missed 2 months. McKenzie basically is going to pitch 2 or 3 times and miss the entire year. They're hopefully can be back right with Bieber in the middle of September. Savali was on the shelf and then got dealt. Cal Quantrill right now is probably the worst pitcher in baseball. He has not been out of the 5th inning since May.
I will see your Cal Contrail, and I will raise you the combination of Tyler McGill and David Peterson.
Quantrill gave up at least 5 runs in 6 of his last 7 outings when he was in the lineup.
Oh, so he could be those two. Okay.
Right.
Good to know.
And I just pulled up the stats that how is it that Emmanuel Clase is leading the American League in saves and has 9 blown ones, and Trevor Stephan has 7?
This Guardian season is reminding me of the 2019 Mets. They blew 27 saves. I've done the maths, excuse me. If the Mets would have blown 10 instead of 7, or if they would have blown 17 instead of 27, the Washington Nationals don't make the postseason. Screw you, asshat. You don't need to remind me, bro. I know they're garbage.
But it's for the listening and the viewing audience.
He should be more embarrassed that Quintana took them as long as he should be more embarrassed that Quintana shut them out for as long as he did.
But Clase right now with 9 blown saves, I want to say he's 2 off the major league record or 3 for an individual.
Except probably set by Edwin Diaz.
It's very close, and right now at this point, I think he's going to get there. There's still 2 months left in the season.
Most likely. But here's the thing, though. He's got such good stuff, Jim. What, is he not executing? Is it location issues? Is it mechanical? What's going on?
It's Jekyll and Hyde. He's on. He'll have 4 or 5 saves in a row. He looks like he's rebounding, and then he actually blew 2 saves this week. They had a 5-4 lead going into the 9th this afternoon against Tampa. He goes 2/3 of an inning, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, walk off.
Was that a Rosarena? Was that the diving catch hit off somebody's head?
I didn't actually see the game or the highlights, but yeah.
It looked like if that was today and a Rosarena hit the walk-off hit, whoever's playing right field for the Guards dives for the ball in the gap. It hits off his head and ricochets. It didn't touch the ground. Ricochets away, and Straw can't catch it before it hits the ground. That's how the game ended.
Yeah, it was a Rosarena.
Yeah, that was today. He dove for it. It hit off his head, went straight up in the air, and Straw couldn't adjust fast enough, which would have been hard to do, to catch it before it hit the ground.
And the worst thing about what Clase did today, not only blowing this save, but also it sets them a game further back in Minnesota, and it wasted a 12 strikeout effort by rookie phenom Gavin Williams.
Dude, he's nasty.
Him, Bybee, Logan Allen, I actually brought this up on Twitter and Threads the other day, that when Bieber and McKenzie come off the injured list here in a month, they shouldn't go back to the rotation. Put them in the bullpen because your rookies are actually performing better than you were when you were healthy earlier this year. And then you can start getting rid of some of the dead weight and the bums that are in there right now.
I said this to you on the phone yesterday, and I said it in 2016. Noah Syndergaard should be a closer. Who's more intimidating than that dude? That you play the music from Thor when he comes in. The lightning strikes everything. How nasty would that be coming out of the bullpen? Almost as good as Wild Thing and a steroided up Charlie Sheen. Almost as good.
It would be good, but I mean, the thing is right now, I mean, Colossi is their established starter, but you figure between him and Stefan, 16 blown saves, you take half of those, that's an 8-game improvement, and you're leading the division by 2 games, and you're 4 games over 500 right now.
Jim, they would have won the wild card going away and hosted the wild card game in 2019. And then you're talking about having, and this is the 2019 Met top 4 of the rotation. You ready? DeGrom in his second consecutive Cy Young season. Syndergaard, Wheeler, and Marcus Stroman. That's who the Mets had in their starting rotation that year. They make noise.
But I mean, both of our teams were sellers, and my Cardinals also massive sellers.
The Cardinals also, like the Mets, need a franchise reset.
Yeah, but let's actually talk about the 2 biggest buyers, arguably. The Tampa Bay Rays and the Texas Rangers.
I would throw Houston into that too. Or even the Dodgers.
Yeah, but arguably, who had a bigger splash than Tampa and
the
Texas?
Dodgers.
You think
the Dodgers
more than either of those two?
You bring Ahmed Rosario over, which effectively ends your top of the lineup shortstop question. You go out and you get Joe Kelly again. Who else they get in that deal with Joe Kelly?
I don't even remember, but I'm still not sold on the Rosario thing. I'm really not.
It's not that I'm sold on it. It's that he answered maybe the Dodgers' biggest question outside of pitching. Because they had no one to hit leadoff and they had no one to play shortstop. He does both, and he's done both for several years. He was hitting leadoff right before the trade deadline for the Guards in the show.
Yeah, but his defense was marginal, and he couldn't hit his way out of a wet paper bag right now this year.
Yeah, I think that Jimenez contract messed him up. If you think about it, he came over with Jimenez, and in the Lindor deal, he was the centerpiece from the Mets.
Yes.
And that Jimenez developed as quick as he did, which you and I talked about. I hated that he had to go. That I think the contract messed him up. I really do. And it's all up here. Not saying he should have, but I really honestly think it did.
Speaking of Cleveland Guardians, while we're getting off the trade deadline here for a moment, but kind of sticking on theme, something else happened since the last time we did a show with a $100 million player with the Guardians.
Oh, I got one better. Hold on.
This dolphin
Oh, it's a stupid ad. Hold on.
But this dolphin can see in 4. Because with NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube,
Hold on. Gotta love live TV.
sign up now.
Did you hear McAfee talk about he just laid him out? The Tom Hamilton call is absolutely beautiful.
I hate Joe Rogan, but they broke that down on their show one day this week.
Rogan broke it down on the podcast?
Uh-huh.
That's wonderful. Lance Lynn is who the Dodgers got in that deal with Joe Kelly.
Okay, that was right. That was it because it's like
Thanks, dude.
I'm a fan of Lance Lynn.
I like him too. Well, he was a Cardinal.
Right.
Wasn't he on? Was he on the 2011 championship team?
Yes.
Okay.
Tim
So-
Anderson.
You big dummy.
No. We should have had the clip from Friday. You got knocked the fuck out.
I kept trying to find the clip and I couldn't find an audio version of it, but all I kept thinking was, I got a bird. His name is Ronnie. Well, tell him, Ronnie, you got knocked the fuck out.
And yes, Lance Lynn was nasty back in the day, but I think he'll fit in nicely with that Dodger rotation, especially with Kershaw off the IL. So how about this? How about Elvis Andrus has been front and center for two of the craziest fights in baseball history? Because he was playing shortstop the day Rougned Odor laid Joey Bats out.
Just going to bring this up of this or that, kind of like a little you don't know Jack here. Better baseball fight, Odor and Joey Bats or Anderson and Ramirez? Like, who had the better right hook? Because Odor just knocked the glasses square off of Bats' head, but Ramirez put Anderson down.
When Tom Hamilton goes, down goes Anderson.
Did you? And we've all seen it. It took 4 White Sox to be able to carry him back to the dugout because he was staggering, and then he still tried to come back out on the field, and it took 5 of them to force him back up the tunnel.
And by the way, for those who haven't seen the video on it, Michael Kopech was holding Jose Ramirez when he clocked Tim Anderson.
Yes.
The better fight was those two because they squared up. Odor just cold-cocked Joey Bats. And listen, Joey Bats took that like a boss.
And congratulations to Joey Bats officially calling his career today.
Did you see he came out on the field and they lined like a red carpet type thing with bats?
Yep.
I thought that was cool. Hey, listen, man, that's one of the greatest moments, postseason moments in baseball history when he hit that home run against Texas. And just never mind the bad flip. If you look at his teammates and you look at the crowd, that moment will live forever. So will the fact that Rougned Odor just pimp slapped him.
And people keep forgetting that Rougned Odor is still in his late 20s. And did that.
Yeah. I happen to think that Ramirez should have gotten less games because he's not the one that started that fight.
It was shaved down from 3 to 2.
He should have gotten 1 and a fine.
Yeah, I'm surprised Anderson didn't get 10.
Anderson dropped the gloves. Quite literally.
Anderson
dropped the gloves.
You know what? I actually would have given him 10 as really more so it would have been like the effect of the instigator rule in hockey. You know, you were the one that instigated the fight. You're the one that gets tossed out and gets the more severe penalty. So he's the one that squared up. He's the one that threw the first punch. He's the one that instigated it, but it's also stemming from his actions on Friday night of pushing Brian Rocchio's hand off the bag, which is the worst call in baseball this year.
That was his Bush League as A-Rod slapping the ball out of Bronson Arroyo's hand in the playoffs years ago.
Right, but the difference is that was before replay, and they got the call right. The original call on this was right from last Friday night, and they reviewed it, and I don't know what the hell New York was looking at to where they overturned this.
Was Angel in New York that night?
Who knows? And Tito getting run in back-to-back games, you know, for arguing that call, which he was right about, and then also getting run as part of the fracas with the fight.
Never mind that. Tito's been fragile of health recently. Who's he trying to throw down with? Tito needs to calm himself.
Yeah, well, Tito, the Chicago manager, and
Preefel.
Preefel and Mike Sarbaugh, the Guardians' third base coach, already served their suspensions. Jose's not playing today or tomorrow, and he'll be back for when they're in Cincinnati on Tuesday with the off day on Monday. and I don't know when Anderson's going to start serving his, but might as well just get it over with, because you noticed that there was nobody backing Anderson up with that. When Ramirez landed, they just let him fall.
He fell in Elvis Andrus' lap. That was hilarious. But the Tom Hamilton call, Jim, I mean, he's a national treasure. So speaking of calls, I want to get your opinion on something. You're the journalist here. I'm
Okay.
I'm the talking head, as it were. I still think I'm better than Stephen A., but that's just me, and I've had a lot of caffeine this evening. What do you think of what Baltimore did to their play-by-play guy?
Kevin Brown?
I almost said Mike Brown, but then I realized that was the coach of the Cavs, and I thank you for wearing the Big Rican Cavs shirt tonight, by the way.
It was the most Bush League thing I've heard, because when you look at it further, he was actually filling in for a guy who had already been suspended, waiting to come off of his suspension before they turned around and suspended him.
First of all, he's giving the team praise for playing better at the Trop this year as opposed to previous years. What were they, 1-15 there in the last couple of years?
1-16 in series in the last few years or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, they don't have their broadcasters back. And
That's-
not for nothing.
That's the Peter Angelos theory of, nothing goes without my say. I'm the end all be all here.
You big dummy.
I can't stand Angelos. By the way, one more Bobby Bonilla crack, I'll remind you how much he's still paying Chris Davis. Anyways, did you hear, like, in essence, every other play-by-play guy and every other team go after the Orioles?
I saw what on
Gary Cohen went
yeah,
in.
I couldn't think. I wanted to say Steve Cohen. It's like, no, but I heard that, and wow.
Gary Cohen, listen, he's gonna Here's your off the rails for the Big Rican Baseball Show. No, it doesn't, because there's no Hitler mustache involved.
I could go pencil one in real quick.
Not for you, for Angelos. But in all seriousness, Gary Cohen, like, because I watch the condensed games every morning, except tomorrow morning. I won't want to watch this slop. But the condensed game had it, and then SNY had the thing on YouTube, so I watched that the one morning, and I'm like, whoa, Gary's not like that. That's not his thing. Yo, these dudes that I know down here, they're the best, man. They're the absolute best. So Gary doesn't go in on people like that. For Gary to go in like that, that's saying something. But it wasn't just that. Michael Kay on his radio show in New York went off.
Tom Hamilton and Jim Rosenhaus both touched on it and gave their opinions during a Guardians game on the radio afterwards.
Yeah, and here's the thing: you're talking Michael Kay, Gary Cohen, Tom Hamilton, three dudes who honestly should all be in Cooperstown already,
Right.
and they're going off on you. You just distracted from the best season in Baltimore Orioles in recent Baltimore Orioles history since what? 2014? 2015? When was Buck Showalter done there?
I was going to say, because that was like the waning like Albert Bell years. Brady Anderson.
No, Buck was winning with them with I want to say 2016 was the last time Baltimore was in the playoffs, because that was Ubaldo Jimenez gave up the home run to what's his name?
Right. Because a lot of people forget about that team because of everything else that was going on with Cleveland and Chicago that year.
Yeah, and Buck had a good team. Adam Jones was on that team, who still has the best play in the history of the WBC. That robbing of Manny Machado. That team was loaded. Manny Machado, Adam Jones, Chris Davis when he wasn't hitting 045. They were good. Toronto just was better. Shut up. Buck is fine. God. I'm taking body blows down here, dude.
I'm hard pressed to disagree with that.
That Buck should have retired?
Yes,
You're saying he shouldn't have or he should have?
he should have.
No. Okay. I think Brian Roberts had moved on by then. It's very possible he was on the 2015 team that beat the Tigers and lost the 2016 team that beat the Tigers but lost to Toronto. It's possible. Buck managed a team last year that didn't have its top two pitchers. One till August 1st, and the other missed 8 weeks to 101 wins. It's not him. These dudes just can't play this year for whatever frickin' reason. End of story. And they're going to have Buck till the end of next year. But I digress. So, Jim.
You also think about it, we're going to have a massive changing of the guard because you guys are going to be in line for a new manager after next year. We could be in line for a new manager after the end of this year at this rate.
Your guys' new manager's already on staff.
Yeah, we all know it's going to be Santos.
It's going to be Sandy.
They're keeping the seat warm for him, but it's
That's why he hasn't left.
I also think why do I have the feeling he's going to stay around through next year because he wants to actually get to 1,000 wins?
What's he at?
I take that back. He just hit 900 with the Guardians on Thursday.
Yeah, he's over 1,000 wins because he had 700 in Boston.
Yeah, he's 1,300. He's 13th on the all-time list. I want to say he's like 70 away from 2,000 or something.
Possibly. So, Jim, right now, since you are still working the buttons, I would like to do something we haven't done yet, but we have talked about on here. We did it once. And I would like if you could please pull up the Immaculate Grid. And let's do a grid for tonight. It is the baseball show. We'll do the baseball one. I do this every day. I did not do it today because I wanted to do this on air tonight. So for those of you guys who don't know, the Immaculate Grid is kind of like the newest thing of Wordle, but it's in the sports world. And it gives you 9 boxes like a tic-tac-toe board. And there's 3 things across the top and 3 things across the side, and you got to match them up with players. The other day I sent one to Jim. I would have thought for sure that Pujols career average was over 300.
Oh, you're going to like this one.
Why is that?
You'll see in
There's
just a
a
moment.
big Mets emblem on it, isn't there?
Yes, there is. But because I know hockey, I tried hockey the other day.
I tried a football one.
The hockey one, I love it. They call it puck doku.
The football one I did had a Cleveland Brown, or no, I did a Cavaliers one, a basketball one. It was Cavaliers Sacramento Kings. Who did I use? Delhi. 0.4%.
Yeah.
It was Cleveland and Boston. I used Jeff Green. 0.4%.
You ready?
Let's do this. Oh, boy. Top left, 300 wins, 3,000 career strikeouts. George Thomas Seaver.
I even beat you to that. Come on, you're slacking.
New York Mets, 3,000 strikeouts. Max Scherzer.
And we don't even care about how low we're getting.
No, I got a couple of low ones in my head. 3,000 strikeouts and a Cy Young.
I'm immediately thinking Nolan Ryan. I'm thinking Roger Clemens. I'm thinking...
Do Roger. No, don't do Roger.
Shit.
10%. It's not bad.
Yeah, but we got to do Boston and 300 career wins.
You could duplicate, I think.
No, you can't. Oh, Boston in 300 wins? Cy Young. Boston and the New York Mets.
300 wins in Hall of Fame, Greg Maddux.
Yeah, do Maddox. Boston Red Sox and New York Mets. Calvin Schiraldi. What's that one?
3%.
Yeah. Cy Young and the Boston Red Sox. Go Pedro.
I was almost going to think, didn't Dice K win it?
No. The only other one I can think of is Josh Beckett, but I don't think Beckett won it either. All right, Hall of Fame New York Mets. Mike Piazza.
This one's a little too easy. I could even figured this one out today. Cy Young and Hall of Fame.
I want you to go. We're going to go.
Your pick.
Sandy Koufax.
Rarity of 185.
Yeah, I like to go for the low rarities, but
it's...
And the funny thing is, you could have used anybody who's been in the Hall of Fame that played for the Mets, like Warren Spahn, Willie Mays, Yogi Berra. Who else? Pedro. We could have used Pedro there. Tom Glavine. Or as Michael Kay called him when he was terrible, Tomas Glavine. Which is the New York baseball version of Brandon Weedon.
Or Seneca Wallace.
Hey, I see he played against the Browns last night.
Yeah, once they finally started playing after a 45-minute weather delay.
That's because somebody was on the massage table.
We had...
Next segment.
We had 2.5 inches of rain today, and we had 1.5 inches yesterday.
Good Lord. Hey, go to the football one just for giggles.
You've been playing the foosball behind my back?
You know, someone said that she should play Elon Musk in a biopic movie.
God.
All right, what do we got here?
Raiders, Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch.
He's just here not to get fined. 1,000-yard rushing season, Las Vegas Raiders. Marcus Allen. Yes, that's daily. Every day they do a new one. Usually when I get up in the morning, before I get Bobby up to go to school now, I do that in the morning. What we got? Super Bowl champ, San Francisco 49ers.
Super Bowl champ, 1,000-yard rushing season, TD. Tony Dorsett. 0.9.
Super Bowl champ, San Francisco 49ers, go Ricky Waters. Bottom left. Bottom left.
Okay. You know what? I was just playing. I just played through a season of old school 8-bit NES Tecmo Bowl, so a lot of these should be fresh in my mind.
Yeah, they should. Super Bowl champ, Seattle Seahawks. Cam Chancellor. I'm going for the ones people aren't going to use.
Why isn't Cam Chancellor coming up?
Is it KAM?
You might be right. There it is.
What's that one?
9.
All right, so we got San Francisco 49ers, Las Vegas Raiders. Jerry Rice. That's going to be big.
46.
Yeah. 1,000-yard rushing season, New England Patriots. Did they ever have one? Corey Dillon?
Mm, yeah, because it doesn't have to be with them.
New England and San Francisco. Randy Moss.
Did Moss play in San Francisco?
Yes, he did.
And Patriots Seahawks. Boy, there's a sore subject.
Yeah. But who played on both? New England and Seattle.
I have a guess, but I can't remember if he played with the Patriots. I want to say he did.
Who is it?
Christian Foria.
Christian Foria did play with the Patriots. Did we just pull the same? What were we, 184 for baseball, 185 for football?
Something like that.
Go back to baseball and see what it was. That's crazy. It was the same.
Can we go 3 for 3?
Yeah, I don't know enough basketball.
Yeah, me either. Okay, we're done.
All right, so we're done. Bring it back up. So let's close out the Big Rican Baseball Show the only way we know how, and let's talk about where we see the rest of the season going. Look, I'm going to say this. It's going to make Timmy very happy when I say this, but the Atlanta Braves are going to run away and fucking hide, and no one's going to have to play them until the second round of the playoffs. However, I said this to him today. I said it last year. The worst thing for a team that is this young playing this well is a bye. So, look, I think Atlanta's going to end up with the number 1 seed in the National League. They're going to host all the way throughout, and I think they're going to end up with the number 1 seed overall. So this state could be rocking come October. I caution them with the bye. Don't know how well that's going to work. As far as, I think 3 teams are coming out of the National League East again. I think the Phillies. Hey, by the way, Michael Lorenzen. His Vans are now in the Hall of Fame. Dude, he's pitched 17 shutout innings, I think, since he joined the Phillies.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
And then they actually, rewarded him by giving him like 10 days off or something?
Yeah, I think they're skipping a start because of how deep he went with
Yep.
the pitch count on this one.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing. By the way, the video of his mom, wife, and the baby, where the mother and the wife are holding each other, just chanting, "One more pitch, one more pitch."
That was
that
great.
was phenomenal. That was awesome.
Fantastic.
I think the Dodgers are going to win the West. I think San Diego's going to blow it up in the offseason. I'm very sad that the Diamondbacks have fallen off the way they have. I think Cincinnati's going to win the Central. I just got a feeling, Jim.
There's a feeling, but they've got to actually get a little bit hot here because Milwaukee's finding their groove.
Yeah, but I think there's going to be 3 teams out of the East, 2 teams out of the Central, and the 1 team out of the West this year. I think Cincinnati's going to get in. If I'm predicting the National League playoff right now, Braves the 1, Dodgers the 2, Cincinnati the 3, the 4, 5, and 6 are interchangeable between. No, they can't carry them alone. You're absolutely right, Timmy. So I think the 4, 5, and 6 are going to be any mix of either Milwaukee, Philly, and the Marlins. Which, good job for Miami. They weren't supposed to be shit this year, and they came out and they're going to get a playoff spot again for the second time in 3 years, or second time since 2020 that they get a playoff spot. American League, it brings great joy to my heart to say the New York Yankees will not be anywhere near the fucking playoffs. Baltimore wins. I think Baltimore's going to come back and win the East.
That's going to be the best race of the entire rest of the regular season right there, is who runs with that.
Yeah. Arizona? Arizona's that's one I want to go to, but yeah, no, they need a better fan base. So Baltimore wins the East, Tampa gets in. Unfortunately, I think Minnesota's going to win the Central now. With the guards are just not playing well.
Yeah, I think this is where they're going to start pulling away a little bit.
But the West, the AL East and the AL West are going to be dogfights, and you can thank the New York Mets and their sell-off for making the AL West that much more interesting. Because you could have a matchup late in the year of Justin Verlander against Max Scherzer. How cool is that, though?
Bigger, on a personal level, bigger disappointments, not the teams we were talking about earlier, but who's likely not going to get in for where they started the year: the Pirates, the Snakes, or the Halos.
The Halos, because I would love to see Ohtani on the big stage. What I'd love to see is a game 1 in the first round. Shohei Ohtani against either Verlander or Scherzer, whichever team doesn't win the division, they'll have the higher seed. On that kind of stage, dude, that's must-see TV. Every which way, including sideways. So yeah, definitely the Halos. Because I think we're going to end up with the conversation in a few years is going to be who's the greatest player to never win a title, and your argument's going to be between Ken Griffey Jr. and Mike Trout.
Because Mike Trout has entered the chat.
Yeah. And you're talking about, you list them in different sports. You're talking about Trout, you're talking about Griffey, you're talking about Barkley, you're talking about
Karl Malone,
you're talking about Dan Marino. Who else in the NFL? There was another one that's escaping me right now.
Warren
Moon, Phillip Rivers.
And those guys didn't even get to a championship game.
No. Well, championship game, yes. I want to say Moon played in a championship game.
I don't remember him doing that.
In Minnesota.
Minnesota never went to Super Bowl.
No, well, they went to Super Bowls. It's not
years ago, but
that was Randall. I'm sorry, that was Randall Cunningham. That 15-1 team was Randall Cunningham. I'm sorry, with Moss and Chris Carter and those boys.
Right.
Mike Trout unfortunately has entered the chat. So, Jim, what do you say we take our first ever Wise Guys commercial break? We come back, we hit the video, and we hit the ground running the way we normally do our Saturday nights, sir. And before we do that, I just want to take this last 50 seconds to say this. Thank you for indulging me. It was 5 years ago this coming Friday that I posted my first ever Big Rican episode. It has spun off into one of the genuinely most fun things I do at all. That's non-family related. So thank you for, number one, having the gumption to come on and do the high school reunion episode with me, and then spin this thing off into really some of the most fun I've ever had doing this. Big Rican will ride again as soon as I figure out how to manage time a little better, but until then, you're stuck with him and I on Saturday nights.
And before we actually, we bring up the curtain on the big show. Who
are we, Olbermann and Patrick?
I was almost thinking Riz and Hammer for my, but before you go off on a tangent, you can kill me in the commercial break.
Okay.
But I alluded to it at the very top of the show is that the reason why there was no Wise Guys intro here is this is officially the first Big Rican on Sports episode in a number of months since Mike's relocated. This is actually going to be trimmed for the first hour, and this is actually going to be uploaded to Mike's page as a separate show altogether. But this will remain in its entirety on the Wise Guys channel. So it's going to be almost kind of like a two-part episode for the normal Wise Guys channel for episode 38, but this will actually be a separate show and or podcast episode for Mike, however he chooses to do with that. So we're covering all bases tonight for his anniversary. And
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
5 more, buddy.
5 more, dude. We're doing this till the wheels fall off.
We're only hanging on by we're not even hanging on by a wheel. We're hanging on by like 2 lug nuts right now.
I'm down.
Yeah, considering we are nuts.
Wait. I'm doing it.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
Now you're jumping the shark because that's our shtick.
Let's go.
On a closing note.
Who cares?
27-3 over the course of the day.
Car analogies have entered the chat. Dude, we got to tell them I'll tell them about the Flintstone thing when I see them this week.
Oh yeah, I think it's one of the OTRs on the channel.
That it is. So do me a favor. Shut the fuck up and start the show already.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick 1, maybe 2-minute break, and we will be back with episode 38 of the Wise Guys.
Thanks again, dude.
Good night, everybody.